Okay, so this is a little different from normal. I am currently in the studio by candlelight, and that was very hot. That's because I just burned myself. That's because I was streaming just a little while ago, and then there was a power outage through my entire like city, and there's like a windstorm going around, so it knocked over some power lines or something. But normally, I would have seen this news and we would have reacted to it live on stream. But life. So it just broke in the last few minutes as I'm recording this that GTA 6 is officially delayed again to mid November of 2025 or 2026, rather. You're like, what? No, 2026. And that puts it now at about a year away. But it also, I think, now firmly locks in the actual launch window for GTA 6. And I think that's going to have really good I think really good effects on the rest of the industry. I think there's also a component of this where this news is coming at a very interesting time, given some other news that's going on with Rockstar at the moment, which I'll talk about in just a second, because it seems like this might be timed specifically to maybe kind of try to distract from some other stuff that's going on. But we'll talk about that over the course of this. I'm going to upload this on my phone to Jacob, and then he's going to be a rock star and upload it to the live channel. So shout out to Jacob for doing that. I think I have some, yes, I do, some battery powered lights. I got these actually for all the traveling I've been doing, and they are really nice in like hotel rooms for quickly setting up some lights for filming videos when you don't know if you'll have consistent lighting, which is just kind of nice. Just kind of a nice way to do it. Let's do it like that. So I wanted to talk about all this because obviously this is like kind of insane news that is breaking the internet at the moment. Like I said, I think there's a couple wrinkles for it. For number one, GTA 6, I personally didn't think they were going to delay it. I thought when they gave it a release window, or a day rather, I was like, that's probably pretty locked in. Because what happened last time with Red Dead 2 was that they announced it for late 2017, and then it was delayed to spring of 2018, and then it was delayed from spring of 2018 to fall, or when it would eventually launch, October of 2018. So it's not like unprecedented for Rockstar to delay a game by basically a year to polish it. And I thought maybe the difference was because there were kind of two sides of the argument. Some were saying that maybe it was like locked in this time because they gave it an actual date, which with Red Dead 2, when they gave it an actual date and said October, I think 28th of 2018 is when it's launching, they launched on that date. And with GTA 6, they gave it an actual date of May 26th. And so a lot of people were like, okay, so that's locked in. That's what's going to happen. But either way, what's in the past is in the past. They've delayed it now to November. And personally, I think, like I said, this is going to be good for the industry just in terms of the confidence for everybody else when it comes to timelines. Because what's happened over the last like year and a half is that every publisher has been mortified to go anywhere near a potential GTA 6 release. And so what we've seen is just delays. We've seen people or studios and publishers pushing their games into windows they wouldn't normally put them because they just don't want to be close to GTA 6. A lot of games that we're looking at releasing this fall were either delayed into 2026 or were rushed, maybe not rushed, but were expedited perhaps to release earlier this year to get away from the potential launch window of GTA 6, which was originally slated for fall of this year. Of course, it was later delayed into May of 2026, and that was kind of funny because a lot of the studios that were most worried about GTA 6 delayed out of 2025 to get away from it, and now they've just ended up next to it. So some of them, I'm sure internally, were delaying to fall of 2026 to try and get away from it even further. And now they've just ended up right next to it as well. But the reason why I think this will lead to further confidence in publishers and like people actually announcing release dates well in advance and sticking to them is because I think the odds of Rockstar and Take-Two delaying the game to 2027, I think the odds of that are very, very low. Like I just personally cannot in my mind, see a situation where this thing gets delayed to 2027. I just personally don't see it. Like, I think the odds of the delay from 2025 to 2026 were at like 75-80%. It's really, really rare. I don't think they've ever actually done it. In fact, it's so rare. I don't think Rockstar's ever announced and not had to do a delay, at least in the modern era. Every time they've announced something, they've had to delay it at least once, usually twice or 3 times, to get about a year out from the original window. And at this point, this delay to November puts the game in November of 2026. That will be about a year after the original expected launch date, which was, again, fall of 2025. And that means they will be spending basically a year polishing and refining. I think if you get over that, if you start to go into like a year and a half, like say they hypothetically delay it to May of 2027, I think that's when Strauss Zelnick, like the CEO of Take-Two Interactive, I think that's when he steps in and is like, come on, like this is billions of dollars we're playing with. We need to figure this out. So I personally think like the odds of the delay from late 25 to 26, like 75%. The odds of the delay from May of 26 to November of 26, maybe that was like 40%, 30, 40%, but that's happened now. And I think the odds of another delay after this one are very, very low. So I think now you'll see a lot of publishers confidently putting out like, we're releasing October 20th or October 25th or December 15th. And you'll see a lot more publishers willing to do that because I think at this point, the odds of that happening are very, very low. The release date itself, I think makes sense. Releasing in November, right before the holiday season, checks out. You got to remember that one of the biggest factors of GTA 6 is not just its attempt to appeal to current gen gamers, but it's also a desire to convert a lot of last gen gamers into current gen gamers. That's one thing PlayStation's talked about in their earnings calls. Microsoft has talked about with the Xboxes. They're expecting that a lot of people who are still playing on PS4s, or in some cases even like PS3s and Xbox 360s and stuff, a lot of those people will choose to upgrade specifically for GTA 6. And releasing in November in that window right before Black Friday, right before the holidays, they are setting themselves up to increase the attach rate and then to also maybe get some sales and promotions to give people a reason to go to the store and be like, I mean, GTA 6 did just come out, and yes, the PS5 Pro is like by next year, probably $5,000. But they'll be like, oh, well, maybe I can justify it because it's on sale and GTA 6 did just come out. Everybody's talking about it. So you know what? I'll go for it. And I think it makes sense strategically. I think the game would have done well in May as well. I mean, GTA 6 at this point is so big that I think it's going to kill it no matter what. Like, I think the holiday sales for GTA 6 would still have been gangbusters, even if it initially launched in May. But you know, I think this at least makes sense, and I'm sure they'll reap some benefits of it. Furthermore, I think the other piece of this too is that launching in mid-November basically looks at Call of Duty and says, bring it on, which is a big deal. Like, GTA 6 is going to be massive. It's at least as we understand it right now, as I'm recording this, the single player mode will launch in mid-November of next year. The multiplayer could launch a month later, could launch 6 months later, we don't know, could launch the same day, but it's not been made clear. What happened last time with Red Dead 2, of course, was that they launched the story mode and then the online came later. And I think they're probably going to do something similar this time. But even so, GTA 6, which is expected to be like the biggest game of the year, certainly, and probably the biggest game of the generation, that is going head to head in the Call of Duty release window. And that's pretty ballsy, but if anybody can be ballsy, it's Rockstar with GTA 6. So I just think that that's interesting. The other component of this, and I mentioned at the top, is that there seems to be, and there's suspicions among some, let's just say, that this is an announcement that was going to come in the next few weeks, but it was an announcement that was timed at this point because of some negative headlines that are going around. You might have missed them because they've not really been, it's not a fun topic. Like talking about a GTA 6 delay is kind of fun. Talking about The Witcher 4 is fun. Talking about layoffs that hit Rockstar is not super fun. It might be like weird, but it's not crazy. But the initial story was that Rockstar laid off like 30, 40, 50 people or something. And that was initially seen as really weird, but Rockstar said that they were laying them off because of gross misconduct was the, I believe, initial thing that they said. What came out later was that Rockstar said that they were leaking information in public venues. So this would be something like going onto Reddit, going onto 4chan, and leaking stuff about GTA 6, leaking stuff about their plans, whatever else. And Rockstar claims they caught them doing this and collected the evidence they needed to be satisfied with that, and chose to let them go. That's what their Rockstar's claiming. The people who were laid off claim, because they probably wouldn't admit to leaking stuff because that would break NDAs. They could be legally in jeopardy. So bear that in mind. Like, they have a reason to not tell you if they were leaking stuff. But what they say now, and what they are claiming publicly now, is that they were actually laid off because they were in online chats with each other and others talking about potentially forming a union at Rockstar to, collectively negotiate for higher wages and this and that. And this is not going to come as a surprise. Big corporations don't like unions. Okay, like they really not a big fan. Not a big fan. One of the things that's interesting is that, like, Xbox had all those layoffs, or well, they had a lot of layoffs, but one of the rounds of layoffs they had earlier this year was a round that hit ZeniMax Online, and they laid off a bunch of people who were working on I think it was Project Blackbird. It was a new MMO that they were working on. And what's interesting is that same studio, that same group, was also actively pursuing and undergoing union negotiations for like a new union contract, which is kind of interesting in terms of timing, right? It's like right as they're negotiating a union and union deals, they get laid off. But I think that is not a coincidence. Call me a conspiracy theorist, but I think at some point, if you look at Xbox and they're doing all these layoffs, and you start to see that they happen to be laying off a lot of teams that are unionizing or are currently in a union, at some point you got to be like, dots connected. Like I think that they were mandated to hit certain layoff targets by Amy Hood, the CFO of Microsoft. But I think when they chose who are we going to fire, and they're looking at their whole portfolio, I think they conveniently looked at, well, where are the unions at? Okay, well, we have to do layoffs. Let's just maybe do layoffs over here. Now that's like, it's low-key illegal to union bust, which is why you'll never hear a company come out and say, like, yeah, we're laying these people off because they were talking about forming a union. Rockstar will never say that. Microsoft would never say that. But I think it's naive to claim that that's not a factor in their consideration. Like, if Xbox or Rockstar or whoever is tasked with firing 100 people, and they're trying to figure out who to fire, and they're looking over here, and they're like, one group are just like underperforming devs and their game isn't doing too hot and it's maybe in development hell or whatever. But other than that, they're normal. And then over here, it's the same kind of story, but they're talking about forming a union. Do you really think they're not going to pick that one? Like, they're going to pick the union one because they kind of killed two birds with one stone. They're like, oh, now we don't have to deal with the unions and we still hit our layoff target, so it's fine. So who knows what the actual story is? It's also possible that both things are true. It's possible that they were talking about forming a union and they were leaking stuff, because Rockstar has like 1,000 or 2,000 employees. I'm sure some employees were talking about forming a union, and they probably have had employees leak stuff. And it's possible that they were doing both at similar timelines. Who knows? Maybe it was just a convenient excuse to lay them off when they started talking about unions. Maybe it was just that they were leaking stuff and they happened to, unbeknownst to Rockstar, they happened to also be talking about unions. Who knows? But it is interesting that right as these stories are breaking about potential union busting and all that is when this news comes out, which, let's be honest, is going to wipe those headlines out. I mean, who's going to be writing an article right now about union busting at Rockstar potentially, and 40 people who were laid off for, according to Rockstar, leaking information? Now everything is about GTA 6 and all of the discourses around that. So who knows what the truth is? I would argue personally, it seems like the best policy in terms of dealing with like a negative news story is usually to not call attention to it. And I feel like releasing an update on your crazy anticipated game kind of calls attention to it, because like in this video right now, because I'm seeing it and I'm like, oh, maybe those dots are connected. Maybe this news is being released to try and deflect attention, but at the same time, it also sort of calls attention to it. Who knows? Who knows? I'm not sure. But either way, the delay of GTA 6 to November of 2026, not that shocking, but I think now that it is pretty well and truly locked in, like again, the odds of a delay again, I think are in like 1 or 2%. I think it's really, really unlikely that it moves out of that November window. And so now I think a lot of publishers are going to breathe a sigh of relief. They're going to do any delays or move around release dates as much as they need to stay away from it. And I think you're also going to see a lot of manufacturing and stuff ramping up in anticipation of next year's holiday season to try and take advantage of any players who are going to be upgrading to new hardware to play GTA 6. As for another trailer or something, I think we probably get another trailer in the next like week or two. Its potential, the potential is pretty high. They might even open it up for pre-orders or something in the next couple of weeks just to let people do it. They could also wait until next year and do it in July of next year and be totally fine. Again, with GTA 6, the normal conventions of the industry kind of fall apart because they can literally do whatever they want to do without any real restrictions because they just are the exception to the rule. They just are. So they can delay it again to May of 27. They could delay it to 2028. Who knows? They could, not allow pre-orders at all. And it's just day one buying only. Like they could do literally whatever they want for any reason. And it would be possible because GTA 6 is such a behemoth, but time will tell. I think more likely it'll play out fairly similar to like Red Dead, and they will get around to offering pre-orders when that makes sense for them. Could be this year, could be next year. Who knows what they're doing. I think mainly it's going to come down to like their accounting. If they want to go to investors, and this is why I think maybe it's likely they open it for pre-orders this year in the next couple of weeks, because next earnings call, they're going to have to go to investors and try to justify the delay. And if they can come back and say, yeah, we opened it up for pre-orders and in one day we received 2 million pre-orders or something, that I think will alleviate a lot of investor frustration over the delay. Because for us, we're excited for the game. We're excited for the experience that it's going to offer. But for a lot of investors, they're looking at this and they're annoyed that this financial instrument that was supposed to come out in May, it was supposed to come out this year, but now it was supposed to come out in May. Now it's been pushed back by another 6 months and it's coming out in November of next year. Like they're frustrated. They were expecting the company to have a huge influx of cash this fall, and then they expected it next May, and now they're being told deal with it, expected in November. And that is, I'm sure, frustrating for some investors. So I think they'll throw out some little bone. Maybe it's a new trailer and or pre-order announcements or something. I think that's pretty likely we hear about it soon. And with pre-orders, though, that means we're going to hear about pricing. Because in order to offer pre-orders, you have to offer for people to buy it ahead of time and pre-order it. So they will need to reveal what their pricing strategy is. And that is still up in the air. As of the time I'm recording this video, maybe by the time it goes up, they've put up pre-orders and we know how much it is. But let me know in the comments what your like final prediction is, because we'll be able to go back to this video, go through the comments and see who was right. Maybe some of you guys are like, I think they go 60 and just put a big middle finger up to everybody else in the industry. Maybe they go to 80. Maybe they launch this starting at 90 or 100. Who freaking knows? But I want to know what you expect and your prediction in the comments, okay? So put that in there. Shout out to Jacob for working his butt off and helping me upload this video while I have no power. I was kind of hoping there'd be a eureka moment while I'm filming this where the power all comes back on and it's like, ooh, I'll go start up stream and we can talk about it, but the power is still out. So I'm just going to chill here with my candles and do something. I guess I'm going to take Romeo out on a walk. I'll take my puppers out on a walk. He's a good boy. He's up playing right now, but I think I'll do that. Go outside, touch grass. Can you imagine? Until next time, my friends, I will make videos and stream the moment I literally can, because I can't right now. So rest assured I will do that. Subscribe, like the video, all that stuff. Let me know what you think GTA 6 is going to cost. That's it. Hugs and kisses. Love you. Bye. I'll be back soon. He took my thing.